Welcome, everyone. Welcome to one of our inaugural virtualized poem present readings. Um, I am Jennifer Scapitone, and if we're good to go, Starsha, I am a professor here in English, Romance languages, and creative writing, and I am delighted to welcome you to the Offen poetry reading featuring Krista Franklin and Sarah Kim. I'm going to introduce Krista, who is going to introduce Sarah. Sarah Kim is going to read, followed by Krista. Then we'll have a little bit of time for Q&A before we all need to jump back on to our classroom Zoom spaces. So here we go. I'll be talking about this book, which you need to go out and find right now. It's hot off of the presses. Krista Franklin's Manifesto, or Ars Poetica #2, lists among the author's metapoetic arms horoscopes, cosmic encounters, and an X-Acto knife. We tread the terrain of this imagination page after material page, made aware by vivid transverbal instantiation, by objective correlative on resuscitated end paper of its many fault lines. The cuts by turns rough and scrupulous, the tears in the socio-aesthetic fabric, demanding scrutiny where the Lincoln Memorial of an uncanceled stamp loses its cupola, where the icon for rewind, truncated from some remote instruction manual, points away from a crowd of kneeling people in prayer or mourning. The whole ensemble pasted in place against a matrix of wanted ads for blueberry pickers, cooks, and chambermaids, destined to be paid less and more precariously than the worth of their labor. Come to high school building mornings at 8 a.m. At the bottom of this image, a cut caption: "If you're still burning, keep breathing." Krista Franklin, Collage, 2006. Dialectics, the mutual roiling of fire and air, the blood of Fred Hampton and bottled water, CPD riot gear against the screamed lyrics of Gwendolyn Brooks, the arms of one pole lancing the other in a destruction murderous or revolutionary or both, drives the transdisciplinary work of Franklin's majestic collection Too Much Midnight, published in 2020 by Chicago's own Haymarket Books. As part of its Breakbeat Poets series, devoted to work that brings the aesthetic of hip-hop practice to the page. But Franklin's pages equally invoke ancestors of blues, jazz, R&B, rock, Pentecostal organ, and above all, funk, the funk of Franklin's native Dayton, Ohio. The funk of sources saved once again from molding or churning to ash in their boxes. To stress solely the work of the knife, machete, slice, is to miss that other aspect of collage, its care work, through loving labor of collection, curation, preservation, rendezvous where Marilyn meets Ella, and therefore torqued resuscitation, where the angel of history has its careening way for a treasured spell, and the multifoliate legacies of the Black diaspora are redeemed in explosive technicolor. Krista Franklin is also a papermaker, letterpress printer, installation artist, performer. Her other collections include the artist book Under the Knife, published in 2018, and the chapbook Study of Love and Black Body from Willow Books in 2012. She is the recipient of the Helen and Tim Meyer Foundation for the Arts Achievement Award, the Joan Mitchell Foundation Painters and Sculptors Grant, and the Albert P. Wiseman Award, and has held residencies at a studio in the woods, Cave Canem, and the University of Chicago's Arts and Public Life Initiative. Franklin's work has exhibited nationally at venues ranging from the Studio Museum in Harlem to the Museum of Contemporary Photography to the set of 20th Century Fox's Empire. She has curated the Chicago Citywide Poetry and Art Initiative, ECFest, a festival of art and word, and Second Sun Salon, a community meeting space for writers, visual and performance artists, musicians, and scholars. She holds an MFA in Interdisciplinary Arts, Book and Paper from Columbia College, Chicago, and teaches at the Art School of the Art Institute, among other venues. We're really lucky to have her with us here today. Please help me iconically and zoomingly welcome her.
Oh my God, thank you guys so much. Thank you, Jen. What an illustrious opening. My goodness, how can I live up to such things? I don't even know what to do with that. I need a copy of it though, so that I can literally hold it in my hands and read it lovingly here in my home where you all are sitting here now. I just want to say thank you so much to everybody who's here, who's taken the time out of your day to pop in this room, this hour, and just share this space with us in poetry and in community. There's something that I really miss. I was actually looking forward today to this. I typically don't look forward to much, but I was really looking forward to today because I kind of miss reading poetry and I miss being in community with poets, so it's nice to be here, and I'm very grateful for the Offen Poetry Award, a tremendous honor. And thank you to everybody who awarded me that and the selection committee who was responsible for that. I want to very quickly introduce our poet, Sarah Kim, who's going to be opening for us today. I selected Sarah's work out of a large body of work, a large number of submissions. And I tell you, it was difficult. It was a challenging thing for me to do because there was really so many wonderful writers who had submitted to that contest. And I just want to say to those who were not selected or those who just almost were there, to continue to write. Everybody who submitted, please continue to write and continue to apply to things. Don't be discouraged, right? Continue to do your work because it's good and it's necessary in the world. I'm going to read Sarah's bio really quickly, but I wanted to just say a couple of words about Sarah's portfolio, which I love work that has surprises in it. I love work that tips into the realm of the unconscious, subconscious dreamscape, but also is tremendously grounded. And I felt like Sarah's work was doing that. I felt like Sarah's work was surprising me at turns. I felt like the introduction of different languages inside of the text was very exciting for me. There were just some gestures that Sarah was making in the work that stood out for me. So I just want to give Sarah the stage at this point. Sarah Kim is a writer and aspiring physician currently based in Oak Brook, Illinois. She is a second-year undergraduate majoring in biological sciences. She has to run after this. She's got to go to her class. She's got lab works to do. Her work has been recognized by Skidmore College and Millikan University. I hope I said that word right. And she has performed at various cultural institutions across Chicago, such as Harold Washington Library and the Richard H. Driehaus Museum. She is a nervous talker, same here, with a bad nut allergy, not me, and enjoys a non sequitur humor, aimless walks, and steamed eggs for breakfast. Please join me in welcoming Sarah Kim.
Hi, thank you guys so much for coming. I'm like kind of paralyzed by how many people came and showed up. This is so exciting to me. I'm gonna try and let my nervous talker side not take over. So I'm just gonna go into the first poem that I want to share. This is a poem that I wrote last year, but I've held it really close to my heart. It's probably one of the poems that has the most meaning to me. And I'm really glad that it was part of the submission for the Ron Offen Poetry Prize. This poem is titled "A Note to My Half-Lover." I am leaving you behind in ancient Babylon. The only meal we share dying stars for dinner. Venus steeped kerosene to clear our palates. We saved our bottle lamps to burn our fossils, our lip mouths half-assed excavation sites. To save myself my whole life, I've been kissing strangers, ignoring my friends, kissing my friends, ignoring those I've kissed, till everyone is only semi-affiliated with me. The world is not savvy enough to lift from my sinuses the calcified confession, a consequence of truth stopcocked into a bottle lamp. Oh, the paradox. One cannot arrest a love without its feet on the ground. Unspeaking our lip mouths, tiptoeing around the brave last love lyric in hieroglyphs, cherishing the gerund phrase. Correspondingly gratified, we kissed, but only for practice, and anywhere except our lip mouths. I still eat dying stars for dinner, pre-speak my amber prayers sideways into stone tablets. Buried cities are lip mouths, every kiss crumbled salt, neither a stone nor a soil bed even half examined as it deserved to be. So that was the first poem. The second poem I wrote this past month, so it's a relatively newer poem. And I just wrote it based on um, kind of how it feels to be back home in like my rinky-dink Chicago suburb with 7,000 people in it. But you know, as much as I miss Hyde Park, I also have a lot of attachment to where I am now. This is my childhood bedroom. So this is kind of a half ode, half lashing out at the suburbs and where I am now. So this poem is called Abecedarian for the December Self. And an abecedarian is a poem where every line um, begins with the next letter of the alphabet. So there's 26 lines in this poem, and each line begins with a new letter. Abecedarian for the December Self. After sunrise, I finally doze off next to beautiful Bulgakov chapters on men's vanity, despair swallowed by love, Christians with long tongues and jerked skin. I strike my dilettante attitude with my blow dryer, and it breaks every atrophied talent in my less loved toolboxes. Somehow, fresh bales of kismet tiptoe their way to back hug me every morning. The ginger root of me still too pungent. See these fingers? They have not the bravery to try again with middle C. Icing on coffee cake, windy beach trips on Tuesdays, just to weep on each other like incurable kitschists. Kingery, 83, are you a swordfish or a brown bear? Let go of your half-moon traffic. I made you some mimble pie. I will wear the red apron. I am trying not to make things worse. At home, I always keep our FM stations tuned to 98.7. For dinner, catch Turian pulsing his masquerade waltz. Garage cans of Coke quietly opened, and later, candlelit Nate Dogg and Warren G regulating in the bathtub. Make this body turn cold. Spasiba to Kismet. For the apple crumble warmth of your thoroughness, for believing in me like your first unborn child, a benign tumor, a horse without a name. Vast was the post-shower pigment spill of my thigh. I saw it wrong in the window, but right in my camera roll. Golden xanthophyll. Could it be the same one in oak leaves, egg yolks? You're always going to be safe here, Mom never says. Zip the baby's coat up and bring the milk in from the car. So that was that poem. I think I'll share one last poem before I have to prepare for my lab. This poem This next poem I'll read, I wrote in the first stretch of quarantine, so maybe like April. Chicago had a Facebook group where we basically challenged everyone to write one poem a day for a whole month. That was back in April. And this is one of the poems that kind of came out of that project. It's called Paul, We Laid Our Lips on Your Body. Paul, we laid our lips on your body, but before that, my aunt boiled you against the murmur of amen. My laddered, soap-bristled knuckles played the bystander. I could not stop her ladle, balking at your limbs in the broth. I was 10 when you died, after a glorious career as an oracle, choosing between oysters and mussels to predict the winners of excuse me, to predict the winners of soccer matches. You holy marine metaphor, promised to the public as all-knowing. 2010, you got it right 7 out of 7 times, and still it wasn't enough to save you or your children from our hunger. Did Pontius Pilate ever tremble as Jesus of Nazareth broke burning sky, walking backwards into iron-mottled storm? When Jonah slept, were his dreams ever swirled with trout? How many Dutch chefs published new recipes for octopus dishes when you predicted their World Cup championship loss? To eat an octopus live, 10,000 times the jaw must work to break the tentacles, squirming and hellbent even after deliverance, detachment from the body. How easily swallowed is God, how treacherous he is to stomach. That's my poem. The inspiration for that poem is Paul, who was a real octopus. I didn't eat him, but he was a famous octopus in Europe, and he would choose, between oysters and mussels to predict the winners of soccer matches, which I guess is a really important deal in Europe. So that was kind of the inspiration for this. Yeah, so I do have to get going. But it was really nice. I really do appreciate you guys coming to listen to this poem selection that I have for you, and just holding space and community for everyone here. Yeah, thank you so much for listening. I'm really excited for you guys to hear what Krista has, for you. Yeah, I really appreciate you guys being here. Thank you guys.
Thank you so much, Sarah. That was absolutely gorgeous. Congratulations. And I challenge all of you to write a poem a day this April, because guess what? We're still in lockdown and there's no excuse not to, except maybe your lab work. So with that, please give it up for Krista Franklin.
Hello, hello. I just want to encourage everybody to make sure your mic is turned off. Not that I don't love to hear background noises, because I do. You guys are probably going to hear background noises here, because I live on a pretty busy street, and it's active over here. So if you hear some background noises, you're welcome. Yes, and just let that be part of the vibe, the vibrations. I'm going to read some stuff. It's going to be a mix of things. Some of them are from the book that preceded Too Much Midnight, which is called Under the Knife. And some of it's going to be unpublished work, and some of it's going to be just pieces of things that I've done in other spaces. I'm not going to do too much prefacing. I probably won't talk in between. It's going to be pretty much like fire shot. Bah, 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 bah. And then we'll try to leave a little bit of room and space for people to ask questions if they need to and want to today. We got to beat it up out of here at 2. So let me get to this work. Yes. And thank you all again, everybody who's here. I see some familiar faces in the room. I just want to say thank you all for coming and dropping in today on your afternoon. I'm sure that there's 25 other things, many other things y'all could be doing besides spending your afternoon with me. So thank you. What information is passed through a genetic line? What memories are housed in our cells? Are our memories the memories of some long dead unknown ancestors along the line? What traumas do we carry that we picked up along the way that were never ours to begin with? Black Freedom Nebula, a meditation. For Folayemi Wilson's Dark Matter, Celestial Objects as Messengers of Love in These Troubled Times. In the beginning, Black was born, and inky spread across the circumference of sky, freckled with glittering rocks that surfaced from the cavern of her. Black became bored and birthed a universe for entertainment, the first TV, a projection of her imagination. What are the sounds of light? One late morning, Black got gas and belched the sun, a ball of fire suspended in black. Black picked her fro and stars scattered, a symphony of hiss and wink in her wake. She thought all children should have mothers and formed the moon from cooling lava flicked from the sun's surface. You can't make this shit up. Black was so beastie, she birthed an immeasurable universe. Black dirty wine to the singing rings of Saturn and broke a sweat so wet it birthed a billion water bodies. Sirius B. Have you ever heard of a child who's never seen a star? All light, man-made, and unmagnificent. No doubt. Edison stared into the sky for inspiration, how to harness luminescence, drag the moon into living rooms. Once, there was an epileptic who used a star as a GPS, led an entire people to liberation. Even enslaved folks fell in love, wore the night as camouflage, and snuck off to touch, tender in the blue bruise of inhumanity. Space is not the place, but even now, there is a child trapped at a border, his eyes turned up to the borderless, using a constellation as comfort. If you want to find deep space, go inward. There's no more mystifying place than your mind, the final frontier between your ears. The ocean of your body sways with the moon, the wombs of women everywhere, hypnotized by her call. What is the gravitational pull of Blackness? The dusky matter of you is stardust, minuscule scatter from the sky. You want to run the universe, but can't even converse in universe. Every breathing thing you want to bridle and bend the knee, build walls and bulldoze, drill into and fire hose. If I say Jacaris, will white privilege burn to dust? Mother Earth is pregnant for the 5th time, for y'all have knocked her up. The extraterrestrials peek through the holes in the ozone, whisper about the bullies of the galaxy, the earthlings who measure time in dollar signs, who speak in tongues of barcodes and blood spill. What is the spell for invisibility? What are the ramifications of not giving ourselves or those we love permission to weep? What is the cost of working overtime to sidestep vulnerability? What are the taxes from the labor of performing strength when you feel annihilated? What kind of humans do we become when we instruct our children to police or straitjacket the moments they deserve the deepest compassion? When we bridle the moments they are afraid or anxious, confused or exhausted, what kind of society have we cultivated then? History as written by the victors. The world is burning. Listen to Minnie Riperton on cassette tape. All of the records are in flames, the archives in ashes. Blood pools in the gutters of the streets. A Black girl in a pair of 85 Air Jordans levitates down the block. She is clutching a copy of the red record she transcribed by hand, the Book of Eli, in her backpack. All of the buildings are boarded up with eponymous red X's on their third eyes. The house where Muddy Waters lived is broke down. Johnson Publishing is stripped and gutted as a woman of ill repute. The invisible fences between neighborhoods are electric. Howlin' Wolf is growling from the mouth of a 17-year-old on 71st Street, squatting in the wreckage of Sunrise Mothership, mumbling, "I'll feel better if you understand. You won't listen to me." Black Youth Project 100 is holed up in an architectural effigy they psychically constructed of the house where Fred Hampton was murdered. A transgendered 14-year-old in their ranks is finger painting Afro-Cobra murals for memory on the walls with looted Kool-Aid packets and bottled water. A cluster of hooded teenagers is reciting lines from Gwendolyn Brooks' poems in unison at the top of their lungs on the porch, remembering with twinklings and twinges. A freshly shorn Chief Keef speeds by on a dune buggy in a wasteland he created with his own hands. The north side is surrounded by CPD in riot gear. White people there haven't seen the sun for decades. This is Chicago, as we know it, knew it, know it, knew it. Time is an illusion. Depending on the body that you live in, history is slippery as memory. All of it is a series of concentric circles. The question is, where do we connect and when? Imagine your mitochondria as a listing of names in a chattel slave ledger or numerical assignment in an internment camp. Suppose your body a record of undocumented workers or 5 generations of the spoils of war. Envision yourself booty, loose booty, walking the streets, the unholy offspring of poets and mass murderers, both colonized and colonizer, intertwined in your cellular structure like an unpruned rose bush around a rotten trellis. What of history then? Think of your body, the body, your body, the body, your body, encyclopedic volume of 1,000 years of experiences. In the middle of one book you have yet to crack exists facing pages a story of the bludgeoned on one and the bludgeoner on the next. It's all one story. The book of the dead, the book of life, nestled next to each other like sleeping children. They are dreaming dreams in your bloodstream. Which side do you choose? What if you don't have to choose? These wormholes we call history and time are the chronicle of near biblical lies based on scientific fact. What happens if we wrap our arms around all of it? The dead, the living, the soon come, all the same time and space, the good, the bad, the ugly, the sinners and saints, all inside us at this moment right now. What if I looked you deep in your eyes and said, you are the war-torn and the warmonger, both the landlocked and the astronaut? And what does it matter? All of the history books are piled up and molding on the cold floor of a closed school anyway, and the average American couldn't tell you the top news story last week, much less comprehend the psychosociological importance of bringing down and burning every Confederate flag ever made and raised in this country. The room is divided between shoulder shruggers and angry-faced emojis. God bless America. What we believe is this: the wasteland is the compost of the now. The future is already here, crawling, tottering like a drunk in the alleyways of time, walking like a sophisticate, running in the shadows with his pants slung low as a gunslinger. The final frontier is between your ears. It is post-apocalyptic dystopia or utopic bliss, depending on your position. We stand in the sun or crouch wounded in the dark. Regardless, it's all of our making. We are major manifestors. Our DNA contains the skeletons in history's closet. Our left foot is slave, our right is slave driver. These clouds of high energy electrons are not static objects. Nothing is static. We exist in a continuum of time that is ever evolving, ever changing. We do not need to reinvent the wheel nor reform the weapons. The moon and the sun go on playing an eternal game. We are natural phenomena engaged in an unhallowed battle with our mother. Time is not a line. It is a series of concentric circles. It is also an illusion constructed to induce us to consider the concept of progress as an intellectual exercise. Progress is a verb. The only universe we control is the one between our ears. Our ancestors said, we shall not regard our swelled head as a sign of real glory, for shadows fade at evening. They asked us, are you light or very dark? We know this is not an inquiry about flesh. We do not worry about history because we look into history's eyes when we brush our teeth in the morning. We flush streams of history down our toilets, throw chunks of it up when we drink too much gin, History digests our lunch. We blow history out of our nose. Even in this moment, history inhales and exhales, a secret agent, an innocent bystander. We believe that walls are witnesses, as are trees and street lamps lined along I-94. Even blue boxes, blind and blinking, carry our stories. History is written by the victors, contains lines from Gwendolyn Brooks, Howlin' Wolf, Oliver Pitcher, Bob Kaufman, Aimé Césaire, Flavian Ranivio, Wole Soyinka, and Winston Churchill. Note to the girls in the future. I am writing you from a distant past, a faraway galaxy, and an unstable disposition. You should know right away that everything I say is a lie, a belief, an idea formed from a skewed mind state, a miserable vantage point. I'm about as trustworthy a narrator you could get. I'm sorry to inform you, I know you value truth, capital T. I want you to believe, capital B, but choose carefully. Belief, capital B, can turn into the thing that drags you. Also, it may very well be the only thing worth believing in is Promised Land, after Rashid Johnson's Promised Land 2008. It's you, 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 it's you. Call for the new images, the new visions, that new, those ideas that unfold life like newborn fingers unfurled to grasp your fat finger. Images that beckon your gaze like soon to be lovers. Images that break like dawn, slice death down with a barrage of paper cuts. No more boots on necks. No more nooses. No more gas for air, no chokeholds. No more mobile videos of backs blown out in open fields. No more women's hands poking through the broken slats of misogyny's dungeons. No more teddy bear totems and elementary school photos on the 5 o'clock news. No more, it's not me. No more, it doesn't affect me. No more tisk tisk. No more tears, guilt, and Twitter trolls. It is you. Here's a mirror. Look behind you, beyond you. Here's a portal. Jump through it. Make magic. Follow the breadcrumbs, the North Star, the scary crackle of tree branches just ahead in the dark. Take the darkness into your fists and smash it on the warm stones of daylight. Make daylight. No more caskets for us all to crawl into. No more remix autopsy recitations. No more back-masked mammies. No more brown bodies on your cooling boards and studio floors. No more satirical snark crafted to suffocate. No more grabbed bodies. No more public, private, intellectual masturbating. No more 20th century icons as talking heads justifying injustice. Artists, writers, intellectuals, inventors. Tina Turner already told you, we don't need another hero. We don't need another way home. Make a new home. A 21st century vision, a future image. Get up from the banquet table of the Feast of American Madness, wipe your mouth and turn the entire table over. Grab the hand of the person next to you and make a break for it. French kiss the idea of humanity. If you find your imagination cannot stop itself from churning out the scripts of the death machines, pull its plug. Dismantle it. Reprogram it. Dream daylight. Manufacture daylight. We are the magicians. Make magic. Marie says, bow down. What I long for is the sound of the drums, the hollow pounding of callous palms pinking against the dry stretched hide of sacrifice. It's shocking to think about time rolling back, planets spinning retrograde, the fingertips of those women, men, scarred, thick skin, tough as cured jerky hanging in the smokehouse. I rub my forefinger against my thumb and remember the years between us. Try to imagine their hands as soft as mine. When would that be? How am I? and all the years in between. Imagine. They held each other's names in their mouths like overripe cherries, their songs breaking the sun down to dust. Those hands, the thick skin of sacrifice, pounding, the taut fur of a skinned thing. They were skinned things, remembering a time of togetherness, notes scored in blood. I need you to remember with me. The drums, their skin, their voices, breaking the crystal fragile nerves of their owners, captors, fathers, breaking the veil, conjuring frenzy in infected imaginations. What year is this? Do you know how long the cops have been called? My love, before there were even phones. Can you imagine? Even then, when those tender names were little more than numbers and decimal points in ledger-bound journals that rested on a desk in the den. The only thing that fuels me here is imagination. I stand at the gates, a specter there. Watch her in all white. The officer insists she break it up. The drums, the song, the mass, black mass, the black mass, the mass, the black mass of spirit thick in the heat. I need you to imagine with me the heat. His pinking face wet. His pinking face, that's my timer letting me know to shut up. His pinking face wet, his nerves fragile as water-furred, her in all white haze, her free woman hands smooth and soft as mine, lifting lightly like the wand of a conductor standing before a symphony, his uniform stiff blue. His pink face reddening like the sun at dusk, his knees buckling under her mouth, an incantation, his thoughts, a murder of crows, a small wave of rejection, her tongue, an ocean of ancestor, spilling him into animal, into all fours, into all bark and no bite. Imagine that moment, the drum, the song, his whoop is what is refused to see. After Kerry James Marshall's Slow Dance, 1992 to 93. In the center is black. The left corner, black. On the table, black. Snaking along the floor, black. The right foreground, black. In the notes that arc into the air, black. In the folds and ripples, in the shiver of the brother's spine, a lush black. His woman captures in the span between her elbows. It radiates from the whites of her eyes. They say, everything here is an amulet of protection. They say, here we can be our tender selves, sway to soul, and maybe sweat our sacrifice into the space where the hardwood meets. Maybe he said, dance with me. Maybe she did. It doesn't matter. From which rich lip the invitation dripped, only it was honored, like the invocation chalk delicate into coffee table emanates from Eshu's fierce stare, is what is refused to see. Sacred, inner sanctum, serene, an unhunched black back, relaxed, a halcyon gaze. Thank you so very much for joining me this afternoon for that little ditty. That little ditty.
That was phenomenal.
Thank
Thank you so much. As one of our audience members has said, is this what transcendence feels like? I think so.
Thank you so much. Again, thank you to everybody who came today. I know you all have, again, a lot of things to do, you know, and forgive my little stumbles and my bumbles and all of that business, you know. It happens. I'm not as warmed up as I used to be, you know, here in these little houses that we find ourselves in, into houses of isolation.
We have some people who have said this was their first poetry reading.
Oh, wow.
I envy those people.
Yeah. Don't make it your
So,
last. That's what I'm, listen,
right.
playing
You
poetry,
have to keep coming.
poetry sustains us, right? I wouldn't be able to even think clearly if I didn't have poetry in my life. I don't even know people who don't listen to poetry or hear poetry or read poetry, buy poetry books, have poetry books in your house. Yeah. Yeah. If it's not by people that you know, then find some new poets, right? Go to the poetry section and browse. Open the book, crack it open, look at it. We need poetry right now more than ever. This is how we can get ourselves out of these horrible situations, yes, that we have created and that we find ourselves in. It's the poets, it's the poetry. So let's go there first and foremost for our healing and our direction.
Oftentimes those books contain, a decade of toil and, a life of thinking, and, people think, oh, well, I could get this, or I could get like 3 mochas. It's worth the price of admission for someone's decade of toil and life and more of ancestors channeling experience.
All of that.
So we do luckily have 15 minutes about for questions. If people have questions, I know my students do, because they already wrote them down. But really anyone, you can either write it into the chat or on yourself and speak.
And I'm seeing all of these reflections and comments in the chat. You all, just thank you so much. Like each of you, right? Thank you so much just for being here, being present, for your just for listening and being present. I just can't thank you enough.
Yes, and I see here that there actually is something in the chat, which is maybe just a good way of starting. Do you write every day or more when you feel a fiery passion behind something you need to release? A classic question, right?
I know, it's so funny. No, I don't write when I feel a fiery passion. And that's no disrespect to anybody who does, right? I approach writing as a craft. I approach writing as a very serious spiritual inquiry. It's an intellectual pursuit. It's a spiritual pursuit for me. It's not, I don't write to tell my little feelings. Nobody cares about my little feelings. Yeah, I write to really work through things that are that I'm working through mentally, that I'm working through intellectually. I write to think. It's a space of thinking for me. And I do not write every day. No, I do not. I wish that I did. I wish I had the discipline. I encourage all the people that I know, and my students in particular, to have a writing practice where they're doing that every day. When I'm being really good and when I'm disciplined, I try to write about 15 minutes a day. Taking a look at, I reference her a lot, but Julia Cameron's The Artist's Way. I recommend to all writers and all artists, because I feel like it can break you out of certain cycles and things that you do, little tics, that you think. And in that book, she has morning pages, where you get up in the morning and you write for 15 minutes straight or 3 pages straight through without stopping. And that tends to help a lot. But no, I do not have a daily writing practice.
I see another person has asked, do you feel you need to be published or formally recognized in order for your work to be good? And if not, how do you know your work is good?
You got to listen to yourself. You got to listen to yourself. You also have to study the masters. I can't stress enough, reading poetry and reading and listening to other poets' work, even work that you don't understand. A lot of people say, I don't read poetry because I don't understand it. You do understand it. You gotta spend time with it. It's not a television show. It's not gonna be handed out to you how to understand something. You have to do the work. So I think reading poetry widely, widely. All people, all nationalities, all creeds. Read poetry in other languages you don't even understand. Read poetry for people that you wouldn't normally associate yourself with. Read poetry all the time, right? That's really the driving force, behind the whole thing. I don't feel like one has to be published to be good. No, certainly not. I mean, dare I say it? Some people who are published aren't good. Sometimes there's things that I've written that I don't think are very good, but they're published. So publishing is definitely not any kind of barometer of something being good. FYI, you know what I'm saying? No, not at all. You have to, typically we look for external validation to tell us when something is good. I try to encourage people to stop doing that. You can find validation inside yourself. You don't need anybody's eyes on your stuff to know that it's good. You learn how to listen to your voice. You learn how to listen to your style, your craft. You learn how to practice. You learn how to be very serious and dedicated about what it is that you're doing. And then that's when you kind of realize what's good and what's bad from you. You should be the determiner of what's good and what's bad, not somebody else. You know what I mean? Don't fall into that trap, because that'll get you hurt in a lot of ways, emotionally, psychologically, sometimes sexually. You know what I mean? Like, got to be careful.
We have a question that seems simple, but I know is not, knowing where it comes from. Eugene G., who's working as a doctoral student with language and the brain. And I cannot even tell you adequately, so Eugene can say more about that. But Eugene is asking about the relationships between sound, image, and text in your poems. It's a very big, open-ended question, but maybe you can just say something for those who don't have the book, which has these amazing, in addition to really useful materials, interviews, essays on Krista's writing. It has these full color collages in it. So, again, you need to buy the book. But in between, this is just where Eugene's question is coming from.
Yeah. Well, I feel, my personal writing practice, when I came up, I wasn't trained as a writer. I'm self-taught as a writer and an artist, So my initial guides were musicians, songwriters, rappers. Hip hop was a huge influence for me. Then when I went to college, I started studying people like the Last Poets, the Beat Poets, people who were doing poetry orally, right? Making albums. So sound is very important to me as a writer. Sometimes I'm just writing something because I want to see what it sounds like too. Something I should probably say. Sound and rhythm is very important to me as a poet. Images are also very important to me as a poet. I tend to think of my poems as paintings, pictures in words. I'm using the alphabet to paint pictures. That's how I think about poetry for me. So yeah, it is a connection. I'm trying to paint a picture. I'm trying to show you something, trying to show you things, visually things, so that you can grasp what I'm trying to say. So there is a relationship. My collages, though, or my visual work, not just my collage work. People associate me with only doing collage, but I do a lot of different kinds of visual work, But people, I would say my visual work very rarely is in dialogue with my writing. Too Much Midnight is really the first time that I put those two side by side, Under the Knife is a different kind of a project, which, I introduced the visual as a way to disrupt narrative, or to complement narrative, or to make interventions on narrative. So, but yeah, they're connected, but I wouldn't say that it's clear cut like that. I hope that answers the question. And your work, Eugene, sounds phenomenal. I'm trying to know more about that. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a different, a lot of my students are asking about your visual art and your poetic practice, but maybe there's a different kind of question here about, can surrealism save us, and how? How did you come to surrealism, your current writing landscape world, and how you navigate this relationship between poetry and its impact?
That's a really, really big question. We don't even have enough time to answer that question. I'll say, I don't think anything can save us. I don't believe in saviors. Save yourself. Save yourself, save the people next to you. There's nothing that can save us. So I don't even believe in that as a concept. Now, surrealism, though, poetry can help us to think through things, right? And help us. Surrealism as well can help us to think through things to improve the quality of our lives and the lives of people around us, not just of our lives, right? It's the lives of everyone, right? I think surrealism was one of the things that people very rarely talk about with surrealism. Surrealists are very much anti-establishment, anti-colonialists. You know what I mean? They don't like anything that restricts the person, anything that restricts the body, anything that restricts the mind. They're not really big on governments. They're not, surrealists are not, people really would not like for real surrealists. Like when people are for real surrealists, most people don't like them because they make you uncomfortable, because they don't have any, there's no boundaries. There's not, surrealism invites us to think outside of imperialism, to think outside of controlling other people. Surrealism invites us to think outside of boxes that people want to live in, boxes that we create for other people to live in. Surrealism asks us to disrupt all of that, to completely do away with it, to destroy it. And so, I think when people talk about surrealism, they think about this real sexy kind of thing, but it's not. I mean, it's sexy to me. That's because of who I am as a person, right? And my own belief systems. But I think surrealism is a political. It's kind of political in your thinking. It's about doing away with imperialism, doing away with colonialism, right? Doing away with with white supremacy, doing away with structures of power that disempower other people. That's what surrealism is. So, I mean, in that respect, it can save us because it can lead us outside of oppression and outside of oppressive thinking, right? It could save us individually, right? But I don't think it can save the world per se. You know what I mean? Because everybody's not gonna be down with surrealist thought. Everybody can't be a surrealist. You know what I'm saying? And there's room for everybody to have their own stance. I came to surrealism through living, because everything's so damn absurd when you're a Black woman in the Black woman's body. I live surrealism. People say slick things to me that are absolutely ridiculous. People, sometimes I see things that other people wouldn't see. I came really to surrealism from being in the Pentecostal church when I was a kid, and realizing that there's an invisible world and a visible world that are right in alignment with each other. They're right next to each other. They occupy the same space. So I came to surrealism through Holy Ghost, speaking in tongues. I came to surrealism through places that people wouldn't even normally, and which is strange people to say. People are like, surrealism? You came to surrealism through the church? I'm like, I did. Because I was exposed very quickly to things that weren't regular, what people thought were normal. So I hope that answers your question. We don't have any more time, People have to dash. Poetry is something that you should always read aloud. Yes, Sandy. Always read poetry aloud. Read poetry aloud to the babies too. Read the babies, when you read baby bedtime story, read a poem instead. Read some poems to the babies. Yeah, that's the move right there. Always read poetry out loud. Poetry is supposed to be read aloud. It's like theater.
Okay, I think that, those words are really good parting ones. Read poetry to the babies, and surrealism can bring us out of colonized minds.
Yes.
And this was such a rich hour. Thank you so much, everyone, for
Yes.
coming, but above all,
Thank you,
Krista
Jen.
and yeah, Sarah. I don't know if Sarah had to go to her lab, but incredible epic readings. Please seek out Krista's new book and Under the Knife as well. Someone asked what Krista read from. It's Too Much Midnight and Under the Knife.
Mhm.
And then you read from a couple of other things.
Yeah, like other projects. One of them was a project that I did with Fo Wilson, an artist here in Chicago, brilliant artist here in Chicago. I write a lot of like frastic pieces to art, art pieces. So what part of it was a part of that, which you can also find at Candor Arts. If you go, there's an album, a live album that I did with Ben Lamar Gay. Mm-hmm. And then
Okay.
that I read that aren't published.
Well, we are so lucky to have Krista here in our immediate community of Chicago. So keep your eyes peeled and your ears open for more from her. And we have to break and go back to class. Thanks everyone for coming. And we will see you for the next Poem Present events.
Thank
We
you
have a
all
big
so much.
festival in April coming up.
Thank you.
Take care.
Take care. Talk soon.